Welcome to We Are Venomaniacs, the Venom Site's official podcast for all of your symbiote news, reviews, and point of views. My name is Orion, and I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts, Carlos.
We're back!
Tyler.
Indeed, we are. Hey.
And Aaron.
Hey, how's it going?
Today, we're reviewing the symbiote comics of the last few months, since it's been a while. This includes Venom issues 2 through 7, Carnage Forever #1, Carnage #1, and Venom Lethal Protection #1. We'll also touch upon Agony's stint in the recent Villains for Hire tie-in for Dark Reign. Or was it?
Devil's Reign?
Devil's Reign, not Dark Reign.
You're close.
One of those.
And also upcoming cool news about the new Savage Avengers book.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get started with Venom. And the last episode we only reviewed the first issue, so now we have 6 more issues here to review. We'll just do kind of a quick general overview.
Yeah, we're not doing issue by issue.
No.
It's just sort of our thoughts on the series as a whole so far.
Yeah, it's been a while, people. So
Yeah, it's been a while, and there's probably a good reason why it's been a while since we've done this.
No. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's just because we're all busy and we have lives, so that's why.
Sure, that's why.
That's maybe a small part of it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, so what's happened with Venom so far? We saw, of course, Eddie die in the first issue. He's still alive, but now kind of in the future with Meridius and his garden and other Kings in Black. We also see Dylan kind of kicking around with the Life Foundation and going toe-to-toe with Bedlam and a bunch of bikers. Is just very strange. It's very strange times for Venom right now. In fact, it's very strange times for symbiotes in general.
Yeah. I mean, part of me is kind of enjoying the book, but I'm really just not liking this slow burn. I was one of those people who never was really fond of Dylan. I was fine with the idea, but I wasn't too happy about him being Venom, because it's like you're making you're making this child become a murderer monster creature. But then I like how Ram also addresses that that's not who he wants to be. He wants to be a hero like Spider-Man, which is good. But anyway, I just never have been a huge fan of Dylan. I was hoping this book would be more about Eddie, but I understand that Al is also doing his own thing, but it's just taking forever and ever and ever to get those like wacky space adventures going. But so far, I'm pretty easy to please. Like, as long as Eddie Brock is in the book, I'm fine. So just less slow burn, please.
I mean, for me, I like Dylan as a character.
Mm.
I don't think I like him in this book specifically. It felt like I think he got aged up way too much.
Yeah.
I think he feels like 13 years old now or something, which is way like doubled in age.
But wasn't that due to the whole Venom Beyond arc?
There was, but this was only supposed to be like
that was like a year though, like he was like maybe 10 or 9, right?
Like I pointed out before, but like some of the covers with Dylan, it literally looks identical to adult Flash. Like you cannot tell the difference. And
I could see that. Yeah,
and then Eddie he just sort of he's teen angst, full of it. I'm just not a huge fan of reading that. And so you flip between being whiny and then like he wants to be a hero, then he wants to be edgy, and it's just I don't want to read that as my Venom.
Yeah.
Yeah. As for me, like again, like for this new series, like I have been enjoying the art. The art's decent, it's passable, right? But again, like as I'm reading it, like I'm, sometimes I'm just feeling the burnout. I hate how, Dylan is all continuously whining and, seeing the Venom symbiote regressing back to its, bestial, angry, wants to eat everyone, slaughter people, and I'm like, oh my god, we've seen this so many times.
It's not even just that though. Like the symbiote's characterization, it's not just like a feral monster. It's just like an intelligent monster, and it's just weird. It like there's definitely you can feel the regression, but it just his character seems so off. And he's talking about like, I am war, I am strife, like you know what you did, and it's like, where is this coming from?
I know.
I mean, you're right, but I also appreciated how like Ram took like an issue to like actually make it think about how does it feel about not being around with Eddie anymore. See, that stuff I kind of liked, but I do agree that making it back to being a murder machine is kind of weird. And just my overall thought is that Ram is writing it more like the movie Venom. You know, where they're talking back and forth a lot. Venom just wants to eat and murder things. And there's not a lot of times when they're talking at the same time. Like I think the last issue 7 was the first time like they actually talked as one, but it sounded like it was the symbiote that was talking the entire time.
Yeah.
And you know, they're still using Clintar and all that other stuff, which
see that really annoyed me because Donnie made it pretty clear that Clintar is not what they're called. It's just the whole lie. And
then like love him or hate him, like he stuck with the rules too. So
yeah, and then but you do make a good point about like earlier on some of the earlier issues. I did like the symbiote's voice, how it was thinking about Eddie. It's like, why am I protecting this kid? He's not like my favorite host, but it's because it's what you would want me to do, Eddie, and so I'll do it for you. And so I appreciated that because it's got this. It had a long bond with Eddie. It does share some of those feelings, and so but then it just later issues it kind of just went off the rails after the symbiote quote unquote evolved and it got a different symbol for some reason. So
yeah,
see that's sort of yeah. You go ahead, Carlos. You got something to say?
Oh yeah, no, it's just like. Yeah, no, it's like now we have this new supposed big bad. Now we have this guy called Meridius, and now in issue 2, Eddie's now completely dead. Well, his body is gone, but his astral spiritual form now is in the end of time in Meridius's time garden, I think it was called, right? Our celestial garden. And now we learned that there's other Kings of Black, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. I thought there was only one. I thought it was Null, and then now Eddie.
It's all these Kings of Blacks are dragged to the future at some point.
See, that sounds fine to me, but again, I just hate that it's just slow burn and like the Dylan stuff. So they addressed how like they're going to meet eventually, but it's just I want to hear more of what's going on with Eddie Brock because we've not really heard a whole lot from him yet.
And but I don't know, just the whole Meridius thing. He's just I'm not a huge fan of Kang generally, and we'll be getting some Kang. But then Meridius is basically just like symbiote Kang, and he's like, "Oh, I've orchestrated all these events to go exactly how I want, and I all through time, and I know what's going to happen." And I just think that's a super boring trope. I don't
know, like it could be interesting with like the symbiote stuff. Like you could get into some interesting ideas, like maybe all of the Kings in Black are alternate versions of Eddie. Maybe Meridius is the future version that's trying to get him back to his old body. That's why he has to bond with Venom. I mean, there's some interesting ideas, but like I said, it's just the slow burn is just killing me. But
then art wise, I know you said it was passable, and for the most part it is, but there's a lot of panels that are just like very stiff feeling. I don't think Hitch does a great job with action. And then I've also said it in the Discord before, but I don't like how he keeps like drawing Bedlam differently every single time, and he keeps looking worse.
He's not a very consistent artist. Like if you look at how he draws Venom and how he draws Dylan and all these different characters, it's like you're looking at him drawing this for 7 issues, and it's constantly changing.
Yeah, and then some panels are like, "Oh, that's movie Venom. That's 100% movie Venom."
Yeah.
Right there.
Well, that was only on like one issue that happened, like once. Like, like Brian's given us pretty good like Venom expressions for the past 7, 8 issues. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm like easy to please. I mean, there's like certain folks on a book that like I would say that's ugly. Please, like never draw this character again. But Brian's been okay for me. I mean, sure, he's a step like below Ryan Stegman, but I mean,
I do still think it's funny that he just made Eddie not old anymore.
I mean, yeah, because I don't like Eddie being old.
Yeah,
Nobody does.
Well,
yeah, but I mean, he's okay. He's like doing what he's working with. He's doing a good job.
Rousing endorsement.
I guess.
And
I guess I'm just easy to please as long as I have Eddie Brock.
They're still kind of, today they're still having issues with, apparently the next issue's delayed, I think. Issue 8.
Yeah, like a lot of stuff's getting delayed. So,
yeah.
but I don't think it's art wise because, I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff going on still,
Yeah.
I guess one of the other subjects we have to tackle in the book. How do you guys feel about the Life Foundation? How that's being used so far?
Again, I feel like there's some interesting stuff you could do here, but like I said earlier, it kind of just feels like they're doing the movie thing. We're going to bring back the Life Foundation because that was in the movie.
It was in the movie, so they're going to bring him back. And, now Carlton Drake's made his return. He's significantly, I could tell he's aged, so he doesn't look the same as he did before. But
I think it's okay to bring them back. You can, because it's one of those things we haven't seen in like forever. And I think it's fine that they're working with Meridius. But again, I just don't know their plan 7 issues in because we're splitting between 2 arcs here.
Didn't they say something with Alchemax as well, with Liz, who just, by the way, Liz kidnapped Dylan, and I did like they finally showed that she had a problem with that. She's like, am I doing the right thing? Like, this is a kid I brought into my home, and now I'm like torturing him.
And not only them, we also see Senator Crane make an appearance working with the Life Foundation, remember?
But but they talked about they talked about there's like a symbiote arms race, and so I don't really know what they mean by that. Like, are they want to evolve the symbiote and then eventually use it as a weapon? I guess
that's probably what their intention is. Yeah,
my understanding, like I thought, like at first I'm like thinking, like wasn't this all for Meridius? Like he wanted to be Venom or bond with it, and there was like a last panel where he grew a mouth and the tongue, and I'm. What's his ultimate goal? Yeah. Is his goal to absorb Venom and become powerful?
Yeah, I think he also wants to evolve Venom, but I think he's like getting them to do it for him, and then he's going to take it for himself or something.
Yeah. So again, like my thought is that he's Eddie Brock in the future, and he needs to, and like he can't get back to his old self unless he helps like the symbiote, grow and evolve so that it can reach him and then pull him back. That's what I think.
Well, yeah, didn't he mention that he wanted to escape the Time Garden in some capacity?
Yeah. So that's what I think's happening. I mean, who knows, but that's what I think.
It's all too complicated.
Could be interesting.
It's all too complicated. After having 2-3 years of Donny Cates and the whole King in Black and everything, this high level cosmic thing, and then we're diving now even deeper into cosmic with Meridius and everything and time travel. I was like, oh my god, it's just too much for me.
Yes. It's specifically the time travel. Like I can deal with cosmic. I'm a big fan of Marvel's cosmic stuff, but this is just like time travel stuff, and that feels like its own beast. So it's just I don't know. I don't know if I want time travel stuff mixed with my symbiote.
Well, again, it like would not be bad if it was not split up between Eddie's stories and then.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up. That's what I was going to bring up, because this book is like split up between 2 writers, and then we're having one arc mainly on Dylan and Venom, and then maybe like 1 or 2 issues with Eddie, and then it's kind of like not balancing itself, if that makes any sense in terms of the story.
It does seem it's very heavily weighted towards Dylan right now, and it's just like, all right, Eddie went into the future world to King of Black, and we have to go back to Dylan in a biker bar. Like, it just
on
the run again with Sleeper Cat.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I'm very happy that like Sleeper's back in some capacity. I am kind of mad that Venom and him don't really acknowledge each other at all. You
He cares more
know,
about Dylan, apparently.
I suppose, but that issue 11 teaser has a new Sleeper agent who I'm thinking right now is going to be Carlton, unless it's Dylan for some reason, but I think it's going to be Carlton. That's just me because they need to make Carlton a bad guy, like a big threat. But that's what I think. But who knows? I'm just happy that Sleeper's doing something in some degree.
Where's Hank?
I'm so happy they have literally. So like last time we talked on this like podcast about was Extreme Carnage, right?
Yeah.
It's like they fucking threw everything about that out the window, and I'm so happy because
we'll address that a bit when we talk about the Carnage.
But anyway, I didn't care for it. I'll say that. Yes, it was fun. Yes, I bought all of the very cool variants, but I didn't care for it. But anyway.
I loved Extreme Carnage. We spoke pretty highly of it, except for you, because Eddie wasn't in it and you were whiny.
Pretty much. Pretty much. I can be honest.
Yeah. All right. Well, any other thoughts on Venom before we move on?
Oh, I like how the design kind of keeps changing. It kind of makes folks mad because if we're going to make an action figure, which one are you going to use, right? Because we've already seen three Dylans, 4 Eddies. I do like his little space look with like the spread out symbol. I was also kind of surprised that they threw out the Ryan and like Donnie look with the chains, but then he used the chains again in issue 7 against Bedlam. So
I was kind of like wondering, did they get rid of the chains that quick? I'm like, okay, well there goes that.
And like, let's be honest, kids only like chains back in the 90s. Kids like Fortnite and like Among Us now. So
yeah,
Meridius is the imposter.
Yeah, clearly.
Basically. But yeah. I guess. What do we think about Bedlam's reveal? Do we know who he is?
Basically, jacked up toxin. That's all he is. Except it's just looks like.
I guess. Do we think
his design's not good?
Yeah, no. I'm not
generic.
I wish he had more going on besides giant red, thing.
Beady eyes.
Right. I kind of think right now that all of the Kings and Blacks are alternate Eddies, and this might be like
I don't think so.
Maybe like a angry toxin version Eddie, and like you got the other ones who might be like like a 90s Eddie or like a Anti-Venom Eddie. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there.
That cliffhanger felt very flat for me since we've literally already seen Meridius shapeshift to look like Eddie. So it doesn't. It just means like, well, it could just be that. We know there's not somebody in there because he stabbed it or whatever.
Right. So. Let's see. Anything else about the book? I wish from the start we didn't have Dylan. I wish he honestly got killed off at the end of King and Black. And this is about about Eddie trying to find him back in the time zone, shift thing. But
I still think the ideal situation, you would have just paired up Sleeper with Dylan. Like, I think Son of Venom, Son of Eddie, it just would have been the easy matchup. You have Dylan as his own thing.
Yeah.
And then he's not trying to be the new Venom. Like, I remember I was hesitant to that when they first teased it during Absolute Carnage, but now I think it would have been the best decision.
Yeah. But then you would have folks that be like, why is half the book actually not about Venom and just his son? And it's just Sleeper. It's not the actual Venom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyway. That too. Stop calling it Venom. It's not Venom. Jesus Christ. They're just going to keep following the movie rules.
That ship has sailed, Aaron.
I know. But I'm just telling you, if Cates was back on this book, we would not have all these wrong. Yeah. But anyway.
Last thing I'm going to say about the book. Yeah, honestly, this new series has been a chore to read through. I'm not going to lie. The art is passable, but it is just a chore, and I'm not really enjoying it as much as I first thought. So,
Yeah.
Last thing I'll say, for the first like 5 or so issues, I wouldn't have called it bad. I would be like, all right, I'm not super on board with it, but I could see the pieces. It's just taking a little long to get there. But for me personally, the last 2 issues were just bad. I did not like them. I didn't think they were good. I didn't enjoy them.
Yeah. Well, I'm still enjoying it somewhat. I just don't like the slow burn, but
Yeah,
I will
I'm hoping
say
it gets better. Like we got another
Yeah.
Ewing
Oh,
issue
yeah,
coming up,
yeah.
right?
if the payoff is like huge, and I'll try to talk about this like when we talk about Carnage, but if the payoff is like huge, I'll take back everything I said like about the slow burn, because there's a lot of potential here for like what's going on in like the Carnage book too. But I don't know. I just wish we focused more on Eddie and not his son, who will probably at the end of the series go back to being just a kid, because we got to bring back Eddie Brock as Venom. So, but
All right. So with that, we'll go ahead and move on to Carnage's side of the story.
That was your final thoughts. Like, I don't even want to talk about this anymore.
this is
All right. If you want my final thoughts is Venom number 200 and everything after was a mistake. Should never have happened.
Okay.
But so moving on, we have a Carnage Forever, which was a one-shot before the new Carnage series. It featured 2 stories. The first one about a little girl named Elsie and a guy named Jerry, who kind of happens by her. And Carnage, of course, interacts with Elsie, and it was I thought it was a pretty decent story.
Carnage stories with kids are all the rage, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting how a lot of his stories now have kids involved.
Yeah.
And this issue, this story kind of rankled the chronology guy in me, just because well, not the chronology, but just the canonicity, just because if we remember correctly, the Saint Estes fire, it at first there were no survivors, and then with Conway's Carnage, we learned there was one survivor, Manuela, and now we are introduced to Jerry in this story, who's another survivor. It's like, okay, well, we're just going to keep adding survivors to the list.
They're orphans.
Fine.
They don't have records. It's fine.
It's fine.
Nobody cares about orphans.
Like David Michelini's writing it, so it's okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
And I think this is the first time in a while that he actually wrote Carnage, which is pretty nice. All his stories that he writes.
Issue of his ongoing now.
Yeah, and all of the stories that he like writes are always fun, which is what folks want. So I will say
this story that we're talking about is not written by him.
Sorry, guys. That's another story that has another kid in it. Sorry,
you're skipping ahead. Yeah,
anyway,
like we said.
Anyway, guys, you okay? Going
all the rage.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then the second story in this, Unmade in His Image by Ram V,
this is the setup for the ongoing.
Is a setup for the ongoing,
right.
And it shows Carnage getting a hold of.
These all just blend together for me.
Hydro Man. Yeah, Hydro Man, yes. Which is interesting. It's like, well, Hydro Man. What's that all about?
So before issue 1, so for Carnage Forever, just looking on its own without knowing what was coming ahead, I was very confused by that.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's talking about, like, I need your power, Hydro Man. I'm, like, thinking, like, why? You literally entered this issue through the fire sprinklers, like water. So, like, what does water give you that you can't already do?
Yeah.
Need that H2O, boy.
And we'll talk about that once we get to the next issue, but... So I enjoyed the first story, and then the second story I thought was confusing. Like I didn't hate it. Like I liked the dialogue, and Hydro Man's like all smug, like didn't think it'd be you to break me out, and then obviously Carnage, not exactly what he's expecting. But.
Yeah. Now I'll say, just in general, what's going on with Carnage is all confusing. It's completely
Oh, yeah.
confusing.
Yeah.
Like because if you read like the little intros for these books for Carnage and everything, it tells you about what's happened lately with Carnage and everything, and they're talking about apparently the Cletus Codex
Well,
split up
I-
with the main Carnage.
Well, this is the thing I don't get. It's like, okay, well, he's Carnage died in absolute Carnage, or Cletus did. Sorry, Cletus, and then in Extreme Carnage he comes back, and then he absorbs.
And he's acting like Cletus. Yeah.
Yeah, he's acting like Cletus. Then he steals Iron Man's tech, the
Extreme Biote.
Yeah, the Extreme Biote. And then in this issue, it's like, well, where's that the characteristic trait of that? It's like,
This was very confusing because it doesn't even explain it. It waits until you finish the first story, then it gives you a recap, and it's like, all right, here's what happened. Off panel, after Extreme Carnage, that in Extreme Carnage was Cletus and Carnage, because I'm going to call it Carnage, even though it's technically the Grendel, but whatever. It's basically Carnage at this point, right?
Yeah.
So there was Cletus and Carnage merged with the Extreme Biote, and he flew off. And then and because this is Cletus's codex, as the recap said, brought back, and he's controlling. But anyway, and then it says off panel, they just decided to split, and so he's like, I have the Extreme Biote now. I don't need you anymore, Carnage. And so then the Carnage symbiote is on its own.
Wait, are you telling me there's two Carnages right now?
There is two Carnages right now.
I
don't remember reading that part.
That
is news to me, but I'll go with it.
Yeah, no, there's apparently now. So this is what I understand from this Carnage Forever issue.
See, you guys, it was so confusing. You didn't even understand that.
Exactly, it's so
what
confusing.
I thought was going on.
Okay,
was
so
that this was still Carnage, and he just threw out the Extreme Biote thing because we just forgot what happened in Extreme.
Okay,
but I thought currently piloting the Extreme Biote.
Yeah, so here's how it goes. In this issue, the first story is apparently the Cletus Codex with the Extreme Biote. And then the second story is just the Carnage symbiote acting on its own.
What?
Yeah.
See, I thought what they were doing was that they were being not very consistent with, are we going to call it its own thing, or are we going to have it act like Cletus? That's what I thought. Was that the writers were being inconsistent?
I thought the whole time in Carnage Forever, I thought it's like, okay, well, Cletus is now one with the Carnage symbiote at this point, so he doesn't need a body anymore.
That's what you would have thought. But
yeah,
in this whole first issue, of Carnage with the serial killer and whatnot, right? That is all the Carnage symbiote. Cletus is not present because this is the symbiote on its own saying, like, I don't have a host. I'm not trapped by Cletus Cassidy anymore. It's just me.
Okay.
And so like if you go to the recap, it literally says, though Cassidy's physical body was destroyed and separated from the original symbiote, his consciousness endured as a codex in the symbiote hive. Recently, he was able to implant his codex into the Extreme Biote, one of Null's symbiote dragons, fused with Iron Man tech.
Okay.
In the process, Cletus shed his longtime companion. Spurned, the host of the symbiote, is now on the hunt. So there you go. There is now two Carnages. One is the Extreme Biote, and one is the Carnage symbiote on its own.
I did not get that at all.
You did, and that's why was so confusing. Like,
because there's no explanation outside of that recap.
They should have shown that.
They should have shown that.
That should have been the first story. Was why they split.
That should have been the Carnage Forever.
Are you sure? Like, are we sure this is not just going to be like brushed aside?
I literally just read it to you. That is the recap page.
Okay.
And the only clue that recap page has any credence to any of this is in the first story of Carnage Forever, when the Carnage symbiote mentions the little girl that he had a friend recently, but they're no longer together. So it's like, there you go.
Okay, so Ram is just writing.
Did you think
the
this
Grendel
whole issue?
one?
Did you think this was Cletus talking this whole issue?
I thought the writers were just being inconsistent about, do we want to have it act like Cletus? Or do we want to have it?
That's what it says in the title description. They should have at least drawn it.
So is the whole Ram V story just about the the
Carnage
Grendel
symbiote.
one.
Yeah.
No, this is the Carnage symbiote with the spiral on his head.
Yeah. So that okay. So we're gonna try to have
I
that
feel
the
like
Codex
we've just
grow its
addressed
own
the
body.
main problem here.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Wow. That okay. Well. Well, I had some good things to say about Carnage, but now I'm kind of thrown off here.
I will say this is symbiote mismanaged between Venom and Carnage. It's just complete mismanagement. We don't know what's going on.
Like you said,
I hard agree with
the
that.
main problem is they did not show it. They just told you in a recap page, and it's like, wait, what? When did that happen? So here's the thing. Here's what I think about that. This, obviously, it's like a detective story with Carnage has the symbiote has its own big plans with Hydra Man to make a portal out of him somehow, which I don't really understand. You made a portal out of water.
See, this is my thing that I'm going to talk about later, though, but you go ahead.
Yeah, and so the one thing I like about this is that they're basically trying to explore the Carnage symbiote's personality without Cletus for once, and not just becoming a carbon copy of Cletus. Because
like the movie.
We've seen in the past the symbiote when it takes over other people and whatnot, it turns them into Cletus, right? It just makes them evil, makes them crazy, makes them kill people. This is the symbiote for once saying like all that, like here it says all that torture, pain, and flesh and blood. I admit I enjoyed it, but that was Cletus's preoccupation. Like I have my own obsessions, and I just want to like explore on my own. And so I think there's potential in that. It's not something I want to see for the long run. Like I want this to end with him going back to Cletus, but I think it is an interesting avenue to explore just for a little while.
Yeah,
I'm piqued. My interest is piqued with that. I want to see where they go, but I just think how we got here was handled so badly, like very messy.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Yeah. So I guess there's no reason to say let's move on to Carnage #1 because we just talked about it. Because it's just so everything is so.
I jumped ahead and started talking about it.
Yeah, but no, it's fine.
You can't really talk. The fact that the recap page happens after the first story, so
then you would think Forever would like try to help you guide into #1 and see. I don't even get that. So
Forever was just like, oh, Hydra Man's here. That's all Forever did, and it did not tell you anything else.
Yeah. Yeah, like they should have just showed you that because we didn't even have to know that Hydra. Like, we didn't even need that story because Hydra Man's in the first issue too.
Yeah, they could have had, instead of having him meet Hydra Man, show him and the Extreme Biote and then splitting off. And where
we should ask Ram about this because this sounds like what Ryan and Donnie did like in the free comic book issue, where like you thought the Carnage was actually Eddie or something that they just didn't clarify.
I remember that. I thought 100% that was like Eddie being taken over by Carnage.
Yeah.
That was confusing. But
so let me say this about Carnage then. I think that it could be very interesting how you have Venom and him growing their own powers on their own and seeing what will happen when they all like eventually meet. You know, like you bring Venom back, you bring Eddie Brock back, you bring Cletus, you bring Carnage, and they all have their new crazy time portal, abilities, and just see where that goes. Like that could be fun.
Ram V, I think, has teased a meeting between Cletus's current Extreme Biote and the Carnage symbiote.
I mean, he's like directly. Well, he's pretty basically directly said, "Oh yeah, like we're gonna bring him back." Which I don't know now because I didn't know that he was just a Codex symbiote now. But I mean,
I love that you're learning that as we're reviewing.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, as long as they throw out the whole Arthur Crane thing and whatever.
Well, yeah, Arthur Crane right now, he is not connected to Carnage anymore. Other than he's a simp. He's a Carnage simp.
Yeah,
and he's just a politician on the back.
Don't you mean an Agony simp?
Basically.
Speaking of Agony, let's move on.
Are we gonna wait? Are we not going to talk about Michelini that Aaron jumped ahead to?
Oh, wait, yes, there was the Michelini. Oh, I completely forgot there was a Michelini story at the end of Carnage #1. Dang.
You wag your finger at Aaron and everything.
That's part of the book.
Yes, that was a great part. Again, another story with Carnage and kids.
Yep.
And I absolutely
that's
loved
fun.
this story. It had a great message to it.
Yeah.
Well,
they should have just had Carnage kill the kid, because that's
I was about to say,
out
that
of
is my
character.
only complaint with the story.
That would have been the perfect ending. That just because we've seen Carnage kill kids before, you know,
he's thrown babies.
you know, like you should have just shown that, yeah, this kid can talk bad, but Carnage he's still going to kill you either way. But
yeah, like
I don't know.
I think it would. Yeah, if Carnage had just like gutted him in the middle of his like defiance, I think that would have been
like if he just like had that little like stare down, and then his next panel was just him like wiping his face, you know, like with the symbiote, then, you know, sure, but.
No.
I
think the fact that McLeany had him spare the kid spoke volumes, because the entire point of the story was the fact that, you know, when the kid propositioned Cletus saying, "Hey, help me kill this guy," Cletus was like, "Hell no, I'm not gonna, because I'm not gonna do what I'm told to do." But then Cletus goes along with it because it's fun. It's what he wants to do. And then when Cletus gives the kid the opportunity to kill someone, says, "Here, you go kill this guy," the kid says no, because he's not doing what he's told to do. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. And Cletus respects that, because that's exactly what he told the kid he would do. He's like, "I'm not going to do what I'm told to do. I'm going to do what I want to do," because that's the whole point of chaos, is to do what I want to do.
That's true.
Yeah,
I guess, but still, I mean, I just want to see
it
kid
does
get
seem
killed
like
on a comic panel, you know?
Carnage. Aaron just hates kids. Confirmed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah.
No, it just felt weird. The fact that it does say, like, the last line of the book is like, it puzzles them both why he's alive. Like,
yeah.
So that I'm with Aaron on this one. I think he should just kill him. And I mean, but other than that, I really enjoyed the story. It's Carnage being Carnage for most of it. It's classic Ron Lim art. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. Really, anything Michelini touches symbiote-wise is gold these days.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
But like I said, moving on, next up we get to talk about Gemishin and Agony. She appeared recently in Devil's Reign, specifically in the Villains for Hire tie-in issues, where she was a part of Wilson Fisk's Thunderbolts team. And
I had fairly high hopes for this book. I was excited for it because, you know, I like a lot of these villains, especially Agony. I'm a big fan.
And it was written by Chapman.
And written by Chapman. And then it kind of just turned into a U.S. agent book, and I was very disappointed by that.
No, we don't know why she's on this team, right? Like, did they have to?
I think it had to do
track her down, or like what?
I think it had to do. If I remember correctly, there might have been a panel where Wilson Fisk was dealing with Arthur Crane, and that's the connection there. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I suppose that makes sense. I mean, I do kind of like this new Agony. You know, I think there should be more evil symbiote girls, and like, you know, like, I mean, besides Scream, all we got's Agony, and she has that unique acid spit thing, which is cool. Mm-hmm. I don't know, like maybe so like
Gemma on one hand it's like fun.
Yeah. See, like on one hand it's like should they have given her a new design so she stands out more? But then on the other hand, it's like no one really cared if she got a new design because fans just want to see the old one. I don't know. I mean, it's like cool that she's here, but again, just like everything else in Extreme Carnage, it's just brushed away. You know, I don't think it's going to matter at all.
Yeah.
You know, after this, she's just going to go back to being a nobody. Same with Silence.
We'll see.
Like, look where that went. Silence went absolutely nowhere. Anyway,
give it a bit. Gosh, it's just she's not in the comic immediately dead character. Like,
there was no reason to make her Silence. It was just so he could say, "I made a new character. Give me royalties if this person's ever in a movie." Which
that's
they won't
a whole
be.
Other conversation.
Yeah, well, it's still relevant. Anyway,
I'll say my favorite.
That's fine for screen, but
my absolute favorite part about Agony in this Devil's Reign is just that third issue with Villains for Hire, where I mean, I found it really fun where Chapman was kind of writing in a little relationship happening between her and a U.S. agent. It was kind of really strange, but it works for me. It was getting real fun. And then there was that one panel where she's helping heal him of the Purple Man influence or whatever, and her symbiote peels back to reveal her face and she says hi. It was like, oh my gosh, that's a great panel.
it was that was absolutely probably my favorite issue of the whole series.
We could also see her again, and since wasn't Alyssa Wong her and she's writing Iron Fist, the new Iron Fist, and she expressed that she still likes Agony, so we can see her show up in there, maybe.
She's also got a new X-Men mini, I think, the Exterminators, I believe.
Oh, yeah, but I think, Iron Fist would make more sense because they're street level, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It can be fun.
Yeah, for sure. There's lots of places she could still show up. I think she's established here. Like that's probably my favorite part, the fact that even though I think she was underutilized in this book, the fact that she was on the Thunderbolts meant she showed up constantly in a bunch of different tie-ins for Devil's Reign by a bunch of different artists. We got to see I can't remember the artist for Moon Knight, but she looked gorgeous in that book.
Yeah.
The one showed up.
I always call him Cappuccino, but it's
Mark that guy.
Yeah, Cappuccio.
That guy. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, well, no, I was actually talking about in the Moon Knight book for the Moon Knight artist.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
yeah. Is it?
Actually, the tie-ins might have been by a different artist, but yes.
Yeah, and then in the main series as well with Chichetto. She was.
I know what you're talking about, though.
Yeah.
Yes. I also like how she forms like a Thunderbolt badge, and it just looks kind of cute.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Just more Agony, please. Always happy to see more. She's a great new character.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right. With that, let's move on to the happier stuff. Starting with Venom Lethal Protector #1, the one that we've been looking forward to for a long time.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
So good.
So good.
Why do you take the lead with this movie? You've obviously been wanting to talk about this. The lead. You don't even have to summarize the story. It's just it's a classic.
It's good.
Yeah, let's get into
breath of fresh air, man.
Let's talk about what you liked about it.
It was a surprisingly thick story. There was so much going on, and it was great. It was like you had the humbug? Is it?
Humbug, yeah.
Humbug.
Yeah, you had the humbug story going on. You had the Life Foundation going on. And then Anne. Anne's back. We had Anne.
Yep.
Yep. And her new
classic
boyfriend.
Eddie. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I think that instead of doing symbiote Spider-Man stories, we should just have more of these classic Venom.
100%.
Venom minis.
100%.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. All just give Michelini an ongoing. Just give him an ongoing. Forget about Dylan.
I don't know if he needs an ongoing. I think minis are fine.
Yeah, I think minis are fine. Just but
that's what they should have done. They should have just did Venom 90 stories instead of the symbiote Spider-Man. It would have been so cool, seeing Venom meet the Eternals and Venom meet Monica Rambeau. That would have been cool, but they did that symbiote
and
thing.
I wouldn't have even minded if it wasn't canonical, like the symbiote Spider-Man stories. I wouldn't. I mean, it's it takes place in the past, but we know
that's what they should have done, because
it's just Venom.
They should have done, but who knows? Maybe they will. Who knows? Maybe they will after this.
Here's just what I wanted to say going into this. I know some of you guys were really excited because of Michelini and going back to Lethal Protector. I wasn't super excited going into this because I was thinking okay, here's my opinion. I love the 90s stuff, well, I mean, specifically I'll say Lethal Protector. I think it started strong and then sort of wavered, ups and downs through it. Those 90s. And so I wasn't really excited to go back because I really like before Venom 200, I really liked our current status quo of Venom. With obviously I'm the biggest Agent Venom fan ever, and then we had the Case's Venom was very good for me. I really liked what it did with Eddie, and so I liked where it currently had him in the Marvel universe. So I'm like, okay, do we really need to go back to Lethal Protector? Like I get it's an untold story, but then I read it, and it's like, oh my god, this is so much fun. This is just classic Venom. This is just everything. It looks gorgeous. Like the artist.
Well,
like absolutely takes inspiration from McFarlane.
I was gonna say. So I'm gonna give a shout out to Ivan Fiorelli because he's the artist for this issue.
Yeah, it's really good.
And does he do a good job? I'm like,
It's really good.
That is just pitch perfect Eddie/Venom design.
This is what the movie Simbrock fans want, and that's what we all want.
And you know what? I'm glad finally we're back to buzz cut, no beard Eddie.
Yeah.
Look, I love the beard, but it's very fun seeing classic. Look, I like the beard, but yeah, the classic short hair Eddie is great. Let's stay away from any minis that give him mullets. Just, but no, this book was so much fun. You bring back Anne, you have something there. I want to ask before we talk more how much we love this book. Do you think they're going to try to get the conception of Dylan in here?
I think they should just make that another miniseries. Just have another miniseries where she becomes She-Venom and they actually have
show
sex.
That it wasn't
rape. It's not. Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
No.
I feel like
that's what I
feel like
said
if they were
earlier.
to do that, it would have to take place after the first appearance of She-Venom or something like that.
Yeah.
But does David even know the current status from what that happened? I don't know.
No.
Yeah, they
I think he's just doing his own thing.
I think they're like, hey, you just want to do a classic Venom story? He said, sure. Like,
but I will say this. He threw a lot of movie stuff in there that was kind of weird, but it's also kind of feeding toward the people that are reading this, which is fine. He had Anne have a fiance now. You had Eddie and Anne had a pet together. Oh god, there was something else that I forgot, but
Eddie
there was some movie stuff going
Life
in there.
Foundation, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Eddie had a dog.
Life Foundation too. Then he had a scientist girl who was in the Life Foundation working for Carlton. So there was a lot of movie stuff, but I can forgive it because that's what the folks who are reading this are going to want to see is stuff they know. So
yeah.
And I'm honestly considering all the movie stuff, the synergy that was sort of going on. I'm very surprised they didn't give her fiance the Dan. What is Dan's his name in the movie, right?
Yeah.
I'm shocked he wasn't named Dan.
They changed it just a little bit. They didn't have a cat together; they had a dog together.
I like those. I kind of like those little tweaks.
And I think I have a feeling that her fiance is going to turn out to be someone evil, maybe, or
probably
something where it's going to be like
together.
It'll justify Eddie getting involved in stopping the marriage.
Yeah. So I also like how like David is kind of teasing them, him and the symbiote trying to talk together. Because, back in those older issues, you didn't hear the symbiote talking. It was just Eddie kind of repeating what it says in his head, right?
Yeah. AKA the best way to handle it.
You don't want to talk right now? I mean, yeah.
Hey, I don't mind the Vince.
He was like, hey, you don't want to talk right now? I was like, okay, fine. Sure, whatever. So, but then later on, we're going to see that the symbiote has to get Eddie to safety or something. So I guess he's going to work on the relationship more, which will be interesting. So,
yeah,
it should be fun.
And then also we see the return of those goons. I'm not familiar with their names except Hell Spider.
Oh yeah.
Blood Spider. Yeah. There's Blood Spider, and then I think it's Death Shield, and then Jagged Arrow or something was the guy.
Yeah, they're Thunderbolt, Mooks.
They're people that Taskmaster trained, and he gave them very lame names.
Yeah, and I think Agent Venom fought them once in a .0 issue, but yeah.
He definitely fought Blood Spider. I can't remember if he fought the others.
But. Yeah. Cool stuff. And he killed one of them, so that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool. Yeah.
But I want issue 2 right now. Where's issue 2? Hurry up.
Delayed.
I can only hope that, by issue 3, we get an announcement that Michelini is returning for another limited series.
Now this kind of holds me over because like I said, the current Venom run, I don't like the slow burn, and there's not a lot of Eddie, so getting some Eddie content in there is always good.
Definitely not a slow burn. A lot of stuff happened in this book, and I will say on the topic of Life Foundation, even though it is like a movie synergy thing, he was in the movie. I think it makes sense because we know that Life Foundation eventually in the original Lethal Protector, they kidnap Eddie or whatever, and they extract the symbiotes. So this could essentially be the setup for that. This could be showing how they first took interest in him, and started planning it. And so I think it's a very it's something that makes sense to do in a comic.
It would be cool if they talked about how they got the other 5 hosts, like where like Donna come from and all them.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, hell, again, so we're talking about other minis. That could be another mini, just recruiting these people to get these symbiotes.
I want more of these minis. No more symbiote Spider-Man, because that was garbage.
100%.
Garbo.
Yes.
Knock on wood, we haven't heard anything about new symbiote Spider-Mans for a very long time. So, that's so good.
But this mini will sell really well. So Marvel loves to make money, and like Venom's their money maker. So I think we'll get some more after these. I don't know if it's going to be David, because he may be like, guys, you're making me do this too much. So, but who knows? Man. Who knows? I mean, like maybe he's just doing it because he doesn't get a lot of money from the movies. How they screw over creators.
Yeah, we know they are not nice to creators.
So,
All right.
So what's next?
The final thing we get to talk about is the Secret Avenger, or the Savage Avengers.
Savage Avengers.
So
Flash is back, baby.
A little history on Savage Avengers. The last series
sucked before, but now it's going to be great.
The last series sucked because they kept on advertising Eddie Brock Venom, and he only showed up for like 1 or 2 issues, and it was just so strange.
I was so happy to see him on a team, and it just never happened. I was so happy for him to be on a team.
It was just an OC generic sword symbiote for Conan, and then he showed up for 1 issue.
As a dragon
for some reason.
I was so happy for that series.
And then we finally eventually got one actual issue with actual tie-in with the tie-in for Empire, and that was actually pretty fun.
Yeah. But it also didn't make any sense canonically to the series. But but finally we have a new Savage Avengers series coming out, and it's featuring Flash Thompson, aka Agent Venom.
Yeah.
Anti-Venom.
And see, so my thing is, like, before we talk about that, I just miss when Venom was just carefree. He could do whatever he want, because I want Venom to meet all of these newer characters. I want him to meet, Miss Marvel and like all of these other newer things, but he just doesn't get to play with them anymore because all of these writers make him do his own thing now, which was why I was happy for Savage Avengers. But then I'm like pretty sure the writer said at one point, "Oh yeah, like we're gonna make sure like this ties in with like Donny Cates's Venom," which is probably like what's the comment like when it's not, it's pretty much just an underhanded comment of he's not going to be in the book because Cates has him down like pretty locked down. So, but anyway,
I got Flash back on team. Couldn't be happier. I am so stoked for this book, but.
Yep.
I think we address the elephant in the room, which is he looks like classic Anti-Venom now.
And that's because Eddie Brock is number 1, baby. You got to advertise the good Venom.
Like, I think the only time we've seen him as Agent Anti-Venom is from the one preview page they've shown in the book. But other than that, it's been like all the marketing is all the classic Anti-Venom. So obviously it's because it's a popular design and because it goes with the whole Savage Avengers thing. It looks like a monster. But
and it clearly spells out that's a symbiote character too. So
but how do you guys feel about them going like Flash going back to that form?
I would rather see what the reason. Well, I mean, so we know the reasoning is because Anti-Venom is like the 3rd most popular symbiote, and they just haven't been able to use him I mean, I want to see what the end comic reason is. Is it just because is like Flash actually getting angry, or is it just because he just wants to, like he did in the Thunderbolts, he just wants to fit in?
Like he did a red uniform or whatever.
Or maybe
like the writer had like said he like wanted a character to mirror the original Savage Avengers, which is why he got like Weapon H. So Anti-Venom makes sense, but Anti-Venom in a soldier look doesn't really match what the lineup was.
Yeah, so but I remember also in his original lineup, he's like, I knew I wanted Flash. Like it wasn't it like this same character. So like I remember he posted his like vision board or whatever, and it was Agent Anti-Venom, like as Agent Anti-Venom. And
I mean, yeah, sure, yeah. I mean, I wish he got a different design, but I mean, like the Anti-Venom's a good design. So,
would you have preferred that one time he got like the Dragon Agent Anti-Venom design?
Probably not, because that makes it look less like a symbiote. So, I mean, I don't know.
See,
I just wanted to be.
I'm of two ways about it.
And stuff.
Yeah. You're just jealous that Eddie's not here.
I'm just an Eddie simp, so yeah.
Yeah. So I'm of two minds about it. One, I'm happy to bring back the Anti-Venom costume. Sure, let's make it Flash's anger form. It's such a good design, and so we're not putting it to waste. We get to see JRJR draw it again for one cover.
Yeah, but he does NFTs now, so boo, boo, boo.
But yeah, and then on the other hand, I do think having him integrate some sort of his newer dragonish stuff would have been cool, because I do kind of wish they would address the whole, symbiote thing, what his actual.
And I don't think they are.
Anti-Venom, and they're not going to. They're just sort of pushing past that. He's just being Agent Anti-Venom, and they're not going to talk about how it's not actually the Anti-Venom symbiote.
Yeah, because he's never like officially like resurrected. Like he hasn't told any of his loved ones. We don't know.
No.
And like I don't think he's even going to address if he's like a zombie like Carnage was. I think they're just going to hand wave all of that away. And I think he actually might just have healing powers. Like I just think they're going to hand wave.
We'll see. We'll see if they do the healing powers thing. If they do, I'm going to be a little annoyed.
Yeah.
But because the only reference we've gotten to his current symbiote situation is that I think in the Extreme Carnage Phage
like
issue,
it's like a shade
of the
or
symbiote.
Something. Yeah.
And so we don't really know what that means, and I don't know if they're ever going to address it again.
I think they're just going to hand wave it, because if you put Anti-Venom on the cover of the book, you're gonna have folks that expect him to be healing and doing all this other shit. So I'm expecting a hand wave, but I look forward to it just to see if Flash actually does anything. So
yeah, I know. Compared to Eddie doing nothing in the original Savage Avengers.
Exactly.
Yeah, obviously, I'm a Flash Thompson fan. I'm so happy he's on team again. Even though I kind of want to see Toxin and Silence somewhere, but I don't know if we're going to see them for another 10 years or whatever.
How would you feel if the reason he's like turning savage is because part of Eddie's codex is like stuck in him, so he like takes
Eddie's
over.
His new symbiote.
yeah, like takes over.
That'd be kind of funny.
That'd be
The shippers would go crazy though.
Yeah, but it'd be a nice callback, like to the Kate's run.
Oh yeah, with
where he's like Agent Venom for like a second. Yeah. I mean that could be cool, but that's not gonna happen. But
anyway, I'm excited. I'm very excited for the future of this book, and I will say
all
the
12 issues of it.
Look how long Savage Avengers went. Okay, Savage Avengers went way too long.
Oh yeah.
I will say, I hope it doesn't turn into a Conan and His Amazing Friends book like the first one did.
I think it will.
I think it might, but I really hope it doesn't.
I think it's going to. But yeah. Yes.
But yeah. There's your symbiote comics. There's a lot of catch up.
Is there anything else you want to talk about?
Well, we do have. I think I have one thing on my mind, and that's the fairly recent announcement of the new Thor team up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thor and Venom.
Yeah, like
are
John
teaming
Cage
up.
said, I am never writing Venom ever again.
And he's
You will
writing it
never
again.
see me writing Venom again. And then
Donny
there he
Cates, I
goes.
lie all the time. Yeah.
But I'm not going to
Donny Cates,
complain
I
because I
hype
like
everything up
yeah.
all the time.
I'm not going to complain because I like when Donnie writes Venom, so I'm not going to complain. I just think it's funny that he likes to be a hypocrite. So that's it.
Here's the thing. I think it's going to be funny that it's just going to totally ignore. I feel like it's going to totally ignore everything that's going on ongoing, and it's just going to have Eddie from the end of 200 just piloting the symbiote. And I think
they confirmed that was Eddie Brock. So maybe he also said this may be because of the new Thor movie because they have gore. And maybe they're just trying to do some Necro Sword Null gore stuff. So
all black, wink, wink, maybe.
Yeah. So just
I can see that because even though Donnie has said multiple times, like, "Oh, I don't do synergy," and then he does something that's very synergy like. Like I remember, he's the one who got Gamora and Peter Quill into a relationship. No other writer had done that. And then Donnie comes along and does it. And he's like, no, I wasn't inspired by the movies. It's like, why'd you do it then, Donnie?
Anyway.
And then there's also the new Miss Marvel team-up book, which will feature Venom.
You get a Wolverine and the X-Men team-up, you get a Moon Knight team-up, and then a Venom team-up. I don't know which order. Obviously, Wolverine first.
Of course, I'm happy with both the Venom and Moon Knight team-up, but otherwise.
Yeah.
But then the question is, which Venom is she teaming up with?
It's probably going to be Eddie Brock.
I think it'll be classic Eddie. I think they're going to ignore it again. They're just like,
I just hope it's like a fun Eddie, and it's like, I'm going to kill you, Miss Marvel, because I'm a bad guy. Blah 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 blah. I would not like that. I would not like that. I don't know, but it could be Dylan. If they try to set it in the timeline, which I don't think they would, because that's dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
he had a lot of bad stuff to say, but there's a lot going on with symbiotes right now. I mean, we got a Venom book, we got a Carnage book, we got a 90s Venom book, we got a Savage Avengers book. We got
up, baby.
Yeah, so I mean there's a lot going on, so even if you don't like, one thing, you can always read the other. So, we are eating good. Mm-hmm. Still getting lots of merch as always too. So, eating good.
Well, I think that's it.
All right.
Well, that wraps it all up. So, catch us next time. We don't, whenever that will be, but
we might try to go back to monthly, especially since there's going to be 3 symbiote books going on at the same time. I don't want to have to catch up on 12 books every 6 months or whatever. So I think we might try to go back to monthly format. We're going to be casual about it when we want to, sort of.
Yeah.
So,
this thing has always been super casual. So
monthly, bi-monthly, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, and it also kind of just helps us digest what's going on in the current series, because if we did one or one thing per. This is Jesus Christ.
Yeah, for the Venom series, if we had done one per, that would have been kind of painful.
That would have been bad.
He's still getting chased by Alchemax.
And we still haven't seen Eddie in 4 issues.
I'm completely fine with waiting for an entire arc to be done on the main Venom book before reviewing it.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, if we're reviewing 2 other symbiotes at the same books at the same time, it won't be as bad.
Yeah.
So again, to our listeners out there, whoever's listening on whatever platform, yes, it's been a while. Things have happened. We're glad to be back, and I know it's a little too late, but again, happy belated 2022. Hope you guys are enjoying it. So,
so have fun, whatever you're doing. If you're, if you're driving, if you're cooking, if you're doing whatever. Thanks for listening.
Yeah,
appreciate it
so much. So you can listen to We Are Venomaniacs on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Audible, and YouTube. We can also be found on Twitter at WAV_podcast. Check out our Discord server where you can geek out with a community of Venomaniacs like us. As always, thank you to my fellow co-hosts Carlos, Tyler, and Aaron for joining me today.
Yep. Ram, please don't hate us, Ram.
Yeah.
Ram, dude, I'm so sorry. Please don't hate us. I still buy every issue and the variants.
Post on you. There's no way he's listening to this podcast.
Yes, he is. He's going to.
And thanks to the Venom site for permitting us to make this podcast under the TVS banner and all of your generous support. And finally, thank you, loyal listeners and fellow Venomaniacs. You guys make an awesome community, and it's an honor to be your voice on the airwaves. Together, we are Venomaniacs.